Welcome to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast. It is your co-host, Bridget, today, and I'm going to be taking you all on really the journey of my own entrepreneurial experience, but not just the happenings and what I did and where I came from, all that, but I really want to extract my top 5 business lessons that I've learned over the years, because I think that no matter where you are in business, if you've had a business for the last decade, if you are just starting a business and you're listening to this podcast, you will find something of great, great value from today because these lessons really transfer to life so beautifully. So if you are here, please go over to the podcast app, wherever you're watching or listening. So YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called. Give us a like, a review, a subscribe, all of that, because we really would just love more eyes on this work. We know it's valuable. We know we're here to help people. We know we're here to be of service. And we would love for you to share this with more humans, more of those great humans around the world. So if you are new here, Visibility on Purpose is our company that we started in officially, technically, January 2023. I'm recording this end of August 2024, so it's been over a year and a half. But Lydia and I, who's my co-founder, we've been collaborating for the past 3 years now, I would say, across publishing, when I ran my publishing company, which we'll get into in just a moment, and across her PR agency. So we've been working together for a while. We are both New Jersey girls. We both went to Rutgers University, but we did not meet until we joined a little Facebook group around manifestation and we got to know each other, which was such a fun time and so cool to reflect on. I don't know if any of you can or resonate with this, where you feel like seeds have been planted for connection for certain people. And it was just like needed to be the right timing, right? Divine timing had to come in, and you needed to meet that person at that time. So, Visibility and Purpose is our company, and we help founders get featured in the media, on podcasts, on stages, on TV. And the way that we do that is through 2 different channels. So we have a program, aka a visibility mastermind called Pitch Party, where we work specifically with the founders and even their team members, and we teach them how to do this themselves so they can learn these skills in-house. We also train virtual assistants, marketing consultants on how to offer this as a service to others. So basically, how to be your own publicist and do this for other people and charge money for it. So that is how our company is structured. That's how we actually make money. We have this incredible podcast, which we love, Visibility Era. So if you're listening, like, thank you for being a true OG. We love you. We also do in-person events. We do networking. We do speaking. Well, I do the speaking. I mean, Lydia does too, but that's usually what I love to do. But she is definitely venturing more and more into this, my friends. She's definitely venturing more into this. We host events ourselves where we obviously both speak. But today I want to kind of take you on how I ended up here. So currently I would call myself a media and publicity expert, and it has not always been that way. Like, when you think about when I was in kindergarten, we had to answer a question for the yearbook, and it said, "What do you want to be when you're grown up, when you're an adult?" I wrote a couple different answers, very classic Bridget style. I think I wrote a mom, a professional soccer player, maybe those, oh, and a teacher. Yep. Mom, professional soccer player, and teacher. And while those have not come to fruition in the exact way that one would think, they absolutely have. And those seeds have been planted since I was a young kid. But again, if you were to ask me, Bridget, would you be doing this? No, no, but I'm definitely still a teacher. That is what I love. And it is really just a gift to be able to share everything I know with you. Now, a couple of things about me. If you're into human design, I am a generator, a 3-5 generator in human design, which is really all about trial and error. It is about me trying and tasting out life and having lots of different experiences, and then using that 5th line to basically share everything that I've learned along the journey with you all. So that's a little bit about me if you're interested in the human design stuff. I currently would call myself a publicity and media expert, podcast host, a speaker. I do still teach yoga, which we'll go into kind of the background of that as well. But this was not always the case. And I want to take you guys. So, how I'm going to structure this is I'm going to go through kind of a chronological trajectory of my own entrepreneurial journey. And then I'm going to weave in some of my lessons along the way. And there's going to be 5 that I'm sharing with you all today. So, I think upbringing is very important and interesting. Now, I come from 2 entrepreneurial parents. My mom was an accountant, and my dad has had a wealth management company for as long as I've been alive, or at least I can remember. My mom, when we were all born, I'm the oldest of 3, she left the accounting and became a stay-at-home mom for a while, and then went back into the workforce in her own company. Network marketing was what she was doing. And I'll explain like what that looks like in just a moment. But I tell you guys this kind of backstory because I do think this is important. We all have imprints from our childhood of what we thought to be possible. And I will just say that I found from an early age, this type of different thinking and creativity was absolutely inspired in our household. And a lot of my friends and their parents are from more of that like linear trajectory where you go to college, you get a job, you work there for 20 years. I mean, that's really changed for like our generation, millennials, quite a bit. But that was still what was, touted as how to live your adult life. And I just did not have that, right? You could do that or you could do something on your own. Like anything is possible. And I truly believe that my siblings and I have had that as a foundational piece to who we are, and we're all very different. But I do think that's because we were allowed to really foster and nurture just what excited us at the time. Right. So I was always really into sports, and that was very easy for me. I've always been very athletic, and like that was just simple. So, again, natural talents, gifts, and abilities, my parents led me in that direction. My sister, very musically inclined, a great actress, very creative. They were really pushing her and not pushing. They allowed her to move in that direction. And then you have my brother who's very technical, very analytical, loved like robotics and building computers and I don't know, like servers. I was like, what are you doing? Like, I don't even know what that means. And he's really moved in that direction. So just nurturing and fostering that natural creative spark has been there throughout my entire life. So I'm planting the seeds for you because that was my upbringing. And of course, there's always challenges. We're growing up, but that was really the core of how I grew up. Was anything's possible? Like dream big. And I like to be that person for others. So if you ever come to me with a dream, I'm going to be like, "Heck yeah, let's figure out a way to move this forward." I love that for you. So I go through high school and I do get a couple jobs. My first job was at a bagel place. Loved interacting with the public. Time flew by. That was fun. Like kind of that kind of customer service was really, really fun for me. Now, when I got my license, my mom had been working for a company called Leah Sophia, which did at-home jewelry parties. And this was like before network marketing was online, right? So like you didn't, it wasn't like someone was like, "Hey, buy my product. Like, do you want to make money?" This was like before that. It was it was very fun and people liked this, let's just say. Uh so she was working for Leah Sophia and she was like, "Hey, do you want to like do some of these parties? It's really good money. I think you'd have a lot of fun." And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" I had my license, I'd love a little bit more money to be able to save and have some extra cash. So working for Leah Sophia, what I actually did was I would set up home parties. So say like Becky, lived somewhere in my local area and she wanted to host a home party. So she got all her friends together. I brought all of the stock jewelry and they would basically like purchase jewelry. And it was so much fun. This is when like costume jewelry was very in. I have so many chunky necklaces and chunky bracelets from that time because because chunky jewelry was in. So I learned a lot there, right? I learned a lot about sales. And my first impression of sales was it gets to be fun. It's all about connecting with people, having and building relationships, asking good questions, which just naturally was how I showed up in the world. And it allowed me to start making money. I wasn't really thinking consciously about money at that time. Like that wasn't, we didn't struggle with money growing up. So it wasn't really an imprint of, money means X, Y, and Z. It was just like, oh, cool. Love this. How fantastic. And the other thing I learned during that time was honing in on my unique skills because I loved talking to people. I loved building relationships. I loved teaching. I loved sharing. I loved like speaking in front of people. And that's what I was doing. I would like stand up in the front of this like room of middle-aged women who were having the party and I would talk about, here's the Julia. Here's how you can wear it. It was just so much fun. It was so much fun. So one of my first lessons for you all that I have learned is leverage your natural talents, gifts, and abilities. That has been something that has been there for me since day one. It's like, what is Bridget uniquely and naturally good at? What does she love? And it brings me back to that exercise called Ikigai, which is the Japanese concept for way of being, way of moving through their life. And it's all about like finding your purpose. So you look at what are you naturally good at? What do you love? What does the world need more of? What can you get paid for? And then you find your vocation, your mission, your passion. And there's one more thing that I'm forgetting there. But leverage your natural gifts and abilities. So think about, what has always been there for you? Have you always been someone who has been extremely analytical and highly organized? Like you loved spreadsheets as a kid. I don't know if that's a thing, but maybe you did. Who knows? Maybe you're someone who's always loved speaking in front of people. Maybe you've always loved bringing groups of people together. Maybe you've always loved IT and like information and technology and seeing how it all works together. Maybe you're the person who loves like to build the technology. Like my brother's brain, I never understood because I was like, how do these things work? It was like beyond my capacity. But to him, getting up in front of a room and being on a stage would be like, no. So harness your own unique gifts, talents, and abilities. And I'm looking down because I have my little notes here. So after having that job, I graduate from high school. I've always been a very good student. I'm not like the best, which my brother and sister were far more academically guided, maybe motivated, we can say. I was always the person who like did just enough. Like I would always get my A's, I'd always do well, but like I wasn't gonna stress about it. That was Bridget. So after I graduate, I go to college and I go to Rutgers University here in New Jersey, and I'm in the Rutgers Business School. And I was pretty proud of that because to get into that school meant that I had placed into that. It was a harder school to get into, and I was basically like accepted into the Rutgers Business School, which was very exciting. However, college Bridget didn't do too well in microeconomics and calculus semester one. Having all that freedom was a little challenging for her. So I did not do very well in those classes. And I actually decided to leave Rutgers Business School and do the School of Communication and Information, which was a much better fit for just Bridget. And that kind of brings me into one of my next experiences and one of my next lessons. So in college, I joined a professional co-ed business fraternity called Alpha Kappa Psi. And, there's lots of sororities. I was friends with mostly women in sororities. There's fraternities or for all the guys. We joined forces together and it was all about like business. And I was surrounded by really some of the brightest minds, in my opinion. And again, I am a very good student. I'm very street smart. So I can find my way and make my way into the room. But if you ask me like a calculus equation, I'd be like, I don't know. I don't care. So being surrounded by this group of people was just so fantastic for me. And to this day, these are some of my just dearest and most respected relationships that I've ever built from that. So at this time we were doing stock market presentations. So public speaking, we had to basically like buy stocks and explain to this audience why we bought them and what the trajectory for that stock was. We had to build out full business plans. So I was, working through, I loved like the marketing component of the business plan. Oh, I just realized that now. That's so funny. Whereas a lot of other people love talking about like inventory and supply and financials. I was like, give it or, leave it or take it. We had to do a lot of public speaking. So again, leaning into my gifts, leaning into my gifts. And my next lesson that I really learned throughout life, I think that first seed was really planted here because while it could have been seen as a step back to leave the business school and not actually graduate from Rutgers Business School, which was like, prestigious, what I intended to do, I have learned that for me in my life, experience is my greatest teacher. And I have had the gift of many, many, many different experiences over the years. Many. And me having the experience of being part of this organization was super impactful for me because I got to learn things on a practical level. And this, I think, comes back to like my natural talents, gifts, and abilities. I'm a street smarts person. I am a common sense, practical learner. I'm not a theory person. So I needed that like actual application of these business topics to understand concepts like microeconomics, macroeconomics, but don't test me on that. That's not how you learn. So, number one lesson here was leverage and lean into my gifts. Hey, this is where you start to see the public speaking coming in. College Bridget, loving public speaking. I remember not even being nervous and everyone else was like pooping their pants. Number two, that experience was the most important teacher for me. And I'll just say, like, if you are going to school to be, a doctor or some kind of very specialized profession, obviously that's extremely important. I'm just saying for my my trajectory and my career path, that was important for me. So my experience was more valuable than necessarily what I was learning in school. And I'm sure that some of you listening have found that to be true as well, especially in the age of technology, where you don't even necessarily need to have had, a degree to do what you're doing, right? Okay, next, what happened in my life? I graduate college. But at this time, I was still feeling some health challenges, which had been there since I was in my mid teens. And I kind of skipped over this because I wanted to kind of just lump it all together. I had been dealing with chronic challenges from a diagnosis from Lyme disease. And Lyme is when you get the tick bite. Personally, never found that tick. Never found the bite, but hey, I had some really weird infections going on. So, staph infections, pneumonia, weakened immune system, digestive and reproductive issues. The digestive issues then came because of all the antibiotics I was taking. So this was a multi-year journey, and I'm planting the seed here for you because I think this is when I really started to acknowledge and see the gift that that challenge was giving me. I really started to appreciate what I was going through instead of being the victim. And when I was in middle school and high school, I definitely saw myself as the victim with this. It was a way for me to get attention, even like as I reflect on it. But having the diagnosis, having to, go to specialists, being not heard by doctors, yada, 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 it was a whole experience that I went through. It taught me that health was a huge priority. Like, right away, health is wealth is my deepest belief. So I kind of found myself thinking a little bit outside the grain around this time as well, where I valued like just personal freedom. I didn't always like to be told what to do because, unfortunately, in my situation, I'm not saying this is across the board, but I had felt let down by the medical system. And I think there's always a time and a place, and I'm so grateful for Western medicine. Like, we need that, we need it. And at the same time, there is a little bit of, I think a lot of people having this experience where they just like don't feel seen or heard. That's what it is, and they aren't healing. They aren't healing. So, anyway, I think this started to develop my independence and to be able to think outside the box and think creatively because I started learning about health, holistic health, Ayurveda, yoga, and really the mental game that I talk about so often as a business owner. Like, if you go back through many of these episodes, a lot of it is the mindset piece to whether it's you getting pressed or whether it's you running a business. Like, if you don't believe it's possible at the subconscious level, it's very hard for it to come to fruition, right? So I had that experience. I graduate college and I get a job at Yelp in New York City. And it was called an account executive, but basically the job was to cold call 100 business owners a day and sell them Yelp advertising. Again, enjoy I learned a lot there. I learned a lot about sales, about relationship building, about vetting leads, about qualifying leads. It really brought you through that whole entire process of the sales cycle. And sometimes it was shorter, sometimes it was longer. It taught me a lot. And I was so, so grateful for that experience. It was very challenging at the time, so grateful for it. I ended up leaving that job and doing my Eat, Pray, Love season of life where I went to Europe, traveled around for a couple months with my friend, and then ended up doing a yoga and Ayurveda certification for teaching in Ibiza, Spain. right? Experience is my greatest teacher. You're starting to see I've had a very interesting experience and life. So I did that. I had such a great time. I deepened my knowledge of Ayurveda. I came back and I started teaching right away. Again, leaning into lesson number one, leveraging your unique talents, gifts, and abilities. I had a natural knack for speaking, communicating, and teaching. That was simple for me. I was not nervous in front of groups, although I was nervous to teach a couple of my first classes. But once I started talking, like it just came out so easily for me. And I was like, wow, this is so much fun. And I got to experience, just enjoying the journey, enjoying the journey, which then really brings me into some of the next pieces of the puzzle because I started to notice really quickly that in teaching yoga, my financial dreams and aspirations were not going to be quite met based on the income I was making teaching yoga. And that's totally okay. It was more of just like black and white for me. I'm a person who has very big dreams when it comes to money, financial independence, and building something bigger than myself. And teaching yoga 5 to 10 times per week just like wasn't going to get me there. It was just the truth of the matter. So I started to think differently and say, okay, I want to start my own business. I want to start something that I can grow. And this is where lesson number three comes in around enjoying the journey and not just seeking for that destination, the final destination. Because if I've learned anything, all of the pieces of my journey have catapulted me so much further. And it doesn't seem like it in the moment, but all of them compounded together are really what have, gosh, made my experience. And it's such a gift. So I leave the job at Yelp. I get my yoga teacher training. I start teaching yoga. I pick up some kind of random jobs here and there to pay the bills while I'm teaching yoga. And I decided to get my certified holistic health coaching certification because I loved health. I wanted to help people and I wanted to start to move things online. I just felt like this, I just felt it. And this was 2016, by the way, everyone, just to give you a chronological time frame here. So I start posting, my favorite recipes, what I'm learning, things that have just helped me along the way, chia seed pudding, just anything that has supported my health journey. I just wanted to share with people. It was as simple as that. And that's what I was doing. I was using social media in that capacity. So I decided to get my certified holistic health coaching certification. I actually do this alongside my mom. And while I'm still teaching yoga, we decide to open our first company, which is called the Bucha Babes. This is truly Bridget's first company, the Bucha Babes. And the idea was my mom has had a long journey with holistic health as well and Lyme disease, and she is a certified health practitioner in Florida currently, working in the chronic illness, disease, and mold illness and toxicity space. Doing some really incredible work. I love her. And we decided to start this because at this time we loved kombucha, gut health, fermented foods, and just teaching people how they can do this in their own home. So we actually started hosting workshops in our own home, teaching people how they can, make their own kombucha, how they can make their own fermented cabbage or sauerkraut, how they can make their own just like healthy alternatives and like why that was so important. My mom is very much the person who can go into the science of it all, and I'm the person who loves to bring people step by step through a process, which is exactly what we do in Visibility on Purpose. So again, all of these things are just so divine and so perfect and just so fitting, so fitting. So we have the Bucha Babes, and we host workshops at our local house. We were getting invited to speak at different events. There was one like girls' summer camp that we were invited to speak at. I'm just reflecting on now. I have no idea how that came into fruition, but alas, it did. And it wasn't that anything was wrong with this business. I just don't think it's exactly what I wanted to be doing, especially because I wanted to be doing things more online. So I started to shift my focus to really building my online business. Again, enjoy the journey. Don't just be set on the destination. Have that definite chief aim, but enjoy every single moment of the ride. Because there's many times as I started to grow my own coaching, it was like a spiritual life coaching, health coaching business. I was like, gosh, I wish this was like working faster. And that was like a story I had for a really, really long time. And I'm still kind of working through that story of just like enjoying everything. Because I know people, and I'm sure you know people listening to this that have gotten to the destination and they're not happy. So, what if I just enjoy every single moment of my experiences of building and creating? What a blessing. So I am growing that business and I'm starting to really focus on yoga, Ayurveda, mindset, fitness, Kundalini yoga. Like that was my jam. And I started to really put out a lot of content and be known for that thing. One thing I've done over and over again, because I've pivoted and reinvented myself many times. If many of you have been following my journey, we have shifted, my friend, we have shifted. But one thing I've always been extremely good at is branding and letting the public know what I want to be known for. And that's how I would get a lot of opportunities to speak not only on podcasts, but host workshops as well as speak at conferences and events. And it's just because I will talk about a topic that I'm really passionate about. I will basically develop my own, platform and message around the thing, and I will get opportunities. I will also seek out opportunities for that thing. So I'm growing my coaching company. I'm speaking, I'm getting on podcasts, I'm doing public speaking. And it really kind of dawns on me that I want to focus a little bit more on business. And this is where business, Bridget, really gets to shine. Because what I found when I was doing my more spiritual life coaching business is that a lot of these people wanted to leave their jobs, leave their companies, whatever they were doing. And I loved talking about marketing. I loved talking about how to get a message out there into the world. Hint, hint, that's exactly what we still do here today. So it's always been that same golden thread there, but it's looked very different. So I start to shift into very naturally, I will tell you, public speaking support for small business owners. It was 2020 now at this time. So we're fast forwarding a couple years and everyone was online. And I will say I'm that person that got to ride that wave. I was going live every single day talking about whether it was like health, mindset, wellness, business, marketing. I was the person going live already. And people saw me as an authority because I was walking the walk. I was talking the talk. I was doing the thing already. And that naturally led into my rock the mic world and rock the mic work. Gosh, it was so much fun. We basically talked about messaging, branding, and positioning, and to market your message through video and why that was so powerful. This was before shorts. This is before like vertical videos were in. It was all about using a platform like social media to share a message. And that was such fun work. And, talk about experience being a great teacher, talk about enjoying the journey and like finding the breadcrumbs in the journey. A lot of what I was talking about then is very similar to what I talk about now. It just had like a different mm, kind of cover, different front door, I guess we can say. And that was fantastic. And this naturally led me into, because I was already talking about like get your message out there, share it with more people. And I was given an opportunity to first co-author a multi-author book and then start my own publishing company. And I thought to myself, well, I know a lot about marketing and sharing a message. Why not try? Why not see how we can do this? So I started Exalted Publishing House again in 2020, and over the 3 years that we were running that, worked with 150 authors across 14 countries and like 4 continents, I believe it was, and helped them become authors. And all of those books are still available on Amazon. We still donate the proceeds to charity, my friend. We work with an organization called Elamu Girls, and I donate the money that comes into that account still to Elamu Girls to this day, which is fantastic. And I feel really just like good in my heart about that. So publishing. This is where Lydia and I met. So it was probably 2021, 2022 at this point, and I'm hosting workshops. I'm teaching my authors about visibility and publicity and getting on podcasts and doing press releases. And I find Lydia in a Facebook group on manifestation. And I invite her to come into my community and do a training on press, like how this world works. I had been doing a lot of my own research over the years, which was really helpful, but like I needed to bring someone in. And this brings me to another point of lesson number 4, which is when you are not the ultimate expert, bring in people to help you. So whether in this case it was bringing in an expert like Lydia to talk about PR and press, whether it is delegating to a team member or virtual assistant, that has been the best thing for me, like ever, because I'm someone who gets very jazzed by a lot of things, but if I don't like something, I will feel a full body F no, and I am not available for it. I cannot do it. No way, Jose. So having and understanding what gets to be fun and what gets to be mine versus what I don't need to be doing feels like a deep breath, a breath of fresh air. That's truly what it is. So that is lesson number 4. So Lydia comes in, she's teaching the community, teaching the group. And, at some point, Lydia and I decide we got to host a workshop together. So we learned how to make money together. We learned how each other worked, which we always recommend that you do. We actually have a video on our YouTube channel, the Visibility and Purpose YouTube channel, all about like what goes into starting a partnership company and like things to think about before you ever do that. So you can go listen to that if you'd like. And we think to ourselves, hey, like, what if this is a business? And this is where Visibility on Purpose is born. We realize that we both have a very similar mission of helping the underdogs, right? So many of you listening to this show are not at the place where you want to spend $30,000 to $60,000 on an agency or a publicist yet. You're just not there. You would love to either do this yourself or you want to do this in-house. You want to train your team, train yourself on how to do this, and then delegate based on that. Have it be in-house and not outsourced. And we realized, okay, like there are small business owners out there who do not have access to this. They don't even realize that they could have a voice in media. Like they don't even know. And so we came together on that mission. We're like, let's bring the people together. Let's teach them everything we know. Let's help them get featured. And just to like plant this here, because I was looking through our website today of our client press, our clients have gotten on Entrepreneur, Fast Company, USA Today, Newsweek, Best Life, oh my gosh, Women's Health, Bustle, Refinery 29, The Every Girl, Top Podcast, Fox News. Like, it is really impressive. And they didn't pay a publicist. They paid us to teach them what to do. And we are literally like a 1/25th of the cost of a publicist, my friends. Let me just remind you that. So the time of recording this, Pitch Party, the program, is $19.97 for an entire year of support and working with us and getting access to our program. You can have a team member go through our program for you, and they can implement it for you. Like, no brainer. No brainer. We even have publicists who we know are like, and agency owners that are like, this is a great option. Just some people they recommend it to their clients because some people just they can't afford that yet. Totally get it. So that is where VOP came from. Visibility and Purpose was birthed January 2023. And we've gone through many iterations as well. And this is where, lesson 4 comes in, which is the beginning of our business. We really need to figure out what are each of our unique gifts and talents and abilities. Like, what do each of us really want to do? Now, I am a person who has used social media for a really long time, since like 2016 for a business purpose, but I don't like it. I don't like keeping up with the trends, the reels. It's too much for me. Lydia likes that. So behind all of our reels is your girl, Lydia. God bless her. I'll do a story. I like to speak, so I'm going to make a story and I'm going to talk. That's simple for me. It's fun. The podcast, both of us love this. Speaking in front of groups and communities, both of us love this. Background tech. I love that. Lydia does not like the tech. I like to set up the funnels, the automations, and how everything can like sequence together and to tag everyone in our like CRM. Lydia doesn't like that, right? So we had to figure that out. And this brings me to the last and final lesson of today's podcast episode, which is build your foundations first. Because I've done a lot of things over the years, I have definitely had businesses where I did not lay down the right framework for structure and support. And as the businesses grew, I'm specifically talking about publishing, I felt like I was almost working overtime to figure out the ways to make all the systems work. This is where I got really into Notion. I got even deeper into Kajabi because the volume was high and the responsibility was high, right? So I needed structures and systems to support it. It couldn't just be all automated. So build the foundations of your business, make it work for you, and think about that at the start of your business versus down the line. I'm a person who definitely learns through experience, aka lesson number two. But if I were to do it again, which I'm so glad Lydia and I did, build the foundations at the start of everything. Like, make it simple. How does your company work? What are all the entry points to your business? What is your message? Make sure that is so clear. Get solid on your offer, on your products, how people pay you. Get solid on how people can refer you. Get solid on your systems. Get solid on what's done on a weekly basis, monthly basis, a quarterly basis in your company. Have all of those entry points to your business just kind of like out, laid out. And delegate the rest. Lesson number 4, delegate the rest. If it's not for you, it can be for someone else who is an expert. So we have brought in people to help us with funnels and ads because we wanted support there. We have had numerous incredible college interns who've supported us with socials and social strategy and just like upkeep on the website, posting on LinkedIn, YouTube, all those places. So have the support for you. Now, this is my journey thus far, and I'm sure it's going to continue to evolve and grow. But I wanted to give everyone behind the scenes with some of the biggest lessons that I've learned because I think that all these things are going to help you going forward as well. So I'm going to go over the 5 lessons one more time. Number 1, leverage your natural talents, gifts, and abilities. They've been there with you for a really long time. Don't forget that. Number 2, experience is a great teacher. Experience is a great teacher. Sometimes you don't need another certification or another letter after your name. You need the experience of doing the actual thing if that's how you learn, if you're like me. Sometimes you need the other certification because you love the knowledge and you need that, the theory, to then bring it into practice. Number 3, enjoy the journey and don't just obsess over the destination. What if you could have just more fun in the moment? What if you can just enjoy like all that you're doing to build and to grow and create? It gets to be fun and let it be fun. Enjoy your journey. Enjoy it. Number 4, hire the right people for what you need or outsource the things that just don't light you up and don't bring you joy. Let it be for someone else. They probably love it. That's why they're offering it. And number 5, build the foundations and the structures of your business. It'll be so much easier as you grow. Automations, funnels, like automate as much as you can, right? As you start to grow, depending on your business structure. So those are my top 5 business lessons as of right now. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend. Share it on your Instagram story and say, hey, just listen to this. And it was inspiring. And I'd love for you to listen as well, because that is the goal here. Like, this is meant to be in the hands of the people or the ears of the people who need it most at the right time, at the right place. Thank you guys all so much for listening to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast. I'll see you next week.